morning and welcome to ONIF TV. My name is Vibrates. Starting on the international scene, the Sri Lanka bombing of Easter Sunday has been said to claim about 200 lives and 450 have been injured in a series of blasts which was about 8 throughout the true hotels and churches on Easter Sunday. 6 of the blasts were in quick successions, while 2 came hours later. One of the affected areas is the St. Antoni's Shrine, which is a very historic Catholic church in Sri Lanka. And reports have also stated that about 2 of those attacks were carried out by suicide bombers. And the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka has declared a nationwide curfew with immediate effect. Although there have been no claims, no terrorist organization has claimed the attack yet. We're still waiting for news on that. However, though there are no claims yet, the documents have stated that Sri Lanka police chief issued an intelligence alert to top officers about 10 days ago, warning that suicide bombers plan to hit prominent churches. Our foreign intelligence agency has reported that NTJ, which is a non-terrorist organization, was planning to carry out suicide attacks targeting prominent churches as well as the Indian High Commission in Colombo. The NTJ is a radical Muslim group in Sri Lanka that was linked last year to the vandalization of Buddhist statues. Now, what leaders have come to, talk of the Sri Lanka bombing, which actually came as a very, very rude shock to almost everybody, and even our President Muhammadu Buhari has sent his condolences, and he has also condemned the attack on Sri Lanka and churches in Sri Lanka. Over 200 people, about 207 actually, have been killed, and about 450 are still injured. I mean, it's very, very sad to even start with. It's a very, very sad thing that happened on Easter in Sri Lanka, and our hearts at ONIF TV are out with the victims and the families of the victims. We pray that God guides their hearts in this very trying time for them. And we also hope that the nation does something about it as soon as possible. And although the Prime Minister has held an emergency intelligence meeting yesterday, is also hoping to hold one on Monday. This starts today, an emergency intelligence meeting across the nation, and we really hope that that there's a lot of progress from that, and that the perpetrators of this attack are brought to justice. Now, also on the international scene, comic actor Volodymyr Zelensky has won the Ukraine presidential runoff votes, defeating incumbent President Petro Poroshenko as president of Ukraine. Although no results have been formally announced, but the vote that have been counted as at the compiling of this report, Zelensky had, for 73.2% vote against the current president, and that's like a big deal in Ukraine, because people that he is coming from, like Hollywood, so to say, is coming from the comedy movie screen, and then he's coming to take over be a president of the country. I think it tells us that that anybody can be anything, and that it just depends on what legacy you've left behind. I'm very sure that if his years as being a comic actor, if he had been in too many scandals and he had so many issues that have been brought up against him, he'd probably not have gotten as much vote as he did. But he probably has left a very clean slate, and is somebody that's been loved, that is loved by people over the time. That's rounding it up on the international scene. Now, Nigeria. Okay, the state governor has come out to say that 95% of states cannot afford the minimum wage, and he also, he said that the states would need the federal government to increase allocations to states, as he was really bitter when he was talking about the new minimum wage. And Labour, however, has come out to say that every state, regardless, has to pay the new minimum wage. Even states that owe debt presently, the debtor states that have salaries that that owe salaries, they've been also said, the Labour has said that they all have to, pay the new minimum wage. Although it has not been said whether the minimum wage will be effective for the previous, the debts that was owed, or that the states owed before. I don't think the minimum wage will cover that. But instead of starting from when the policy was implemented, that everybody, every state, without excusing anyone, has to pay, the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Also, Lagos State third Mainland Bridge. There was a news report about 2-3 weeks ago where a celebrity took to social media to upload pictures of the bridge, and he raised an alarm, a watch, that the bridge was shaking and that there were vibrations that were felt there. Now, Nigerians responded to that claim. Some people called on the Ministry of Works to look into it. Other people actually said that it's normal for a bridge. It's normal for a bridge to be elastic, that it gives room for, I don't know the word that word, it gives room for expansion, that it's a normal occurrence on the bridge. However, I think last week, new pictures from third Mainland Bridge showed up that the federal government has fixed the bridge already. Now, the Ministry of Works also released a report that the third Mainland Bridge is actually very, very safe, and that work is going on this thing, but that the vibrations and the expansions, that it actually has nothing to do with safety, that third Mainland Bridge is safe for use and all of that. Now, it brings me to the fact that people panicked when they noticed that the bridge was shaking or vibrating and stuff like that. And some people actually understood that, okay, this is actually a normal, occurrence, but majority actually thought that, okay, Nigeria is not doing anything, this bridge is about to collapse and we're just looking at it like that. So I feel that when issues like that, the public should be, sensitized, and or that there should be this sort of orientation, like, okay, we've noticed this, like, do not panic, this is what it's about, like, it didn't have to report, a panic didn't have to break out before the government actually said something about the bridge. Moving on, also, Osun State government is set to recruit 2,000 food vendors to enhance the oatmeal that begun by the former administration of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. They are said to need more food vendors to cater to the feeding and health project oatmeal. Women between the ages of 18 to 40 with at least secondary school leaving certificate, that's the SSC's certificate, and also certification in catering services would be considered for the recruitment. And it has also been said that he's trying to, the current governor is trying to create opportunities for women to do business and be able to make their money, create employment basically for women. Now, so this is a call to actually women in Osun State that can handle catering events and also are certified in catering services, and that also have at least the senior secondary school certificate, that the governor will be recruiting 2,000 food vendors for the state. That's a welcome development, and okay, now moving on, also, NAFDAC has raised an alarm, that drug prevalence, they've raised an alarm of drug prevalence in the country. Like, there's been too many cases of drug misuse. Now, NAFDAC is not even talking from the angle of fake drugs that we always identify NAFDAC with, but now they've become a voice for, drug abuse and illegal use of drugs. Now, when you hear drug abuse, the thing that comes to your mind, first of all, when you hear use of drugs, stuff like that, probably things that come to your mind is cocaine, marijuana, and stuff like that. But it's disheartening to actually see that that's not what it's about any longer. Youths of these days actually, they misuse drugs such as analgesic, pain relieving drugs, even cough syrup. It has become really, 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 really disheartening, really, because there's like the epidemic. I mean, it's almost everywhere these days. You virtually see out of 10 youths, you probably have 5 of them that are into drugs and all of that. And NAFDAC has also released the findings. They said that out of the youth we have in Nigeria, about 15 million youths use drugs, and out of that 15 million, 3 million actually are addicted to drugs, and it's really interesting to see that the drugs that they are even addicted to nowadays is not the drugs that. It's just really, upsetting when when back in school we learned at the point that you don't collect drink, bottle drink, you don't collect it from just anybody, because when you taste the drink you realize that, okay, this is not ordinary, like something has been added, to it, like there's just different sort of mixtures everywhere, and it's a thing, and it's also something that should be talked about and people should understand. Awareness is actually gone. I think that there's been a very high level of awareness concerning drug abuse, and I think that these people that abuse the drugs know the negative effects of the drugs that they are using, but a lot of them are addicted, can actually not do without it. And people that are not addicted to it, they probably want to feel cool or something. So we should do more. Like this is a cry to parents, to people, like influencing. There's something called peer pressure. As much as peer pressure can be negative, there's also a possibility that peer pressure is positive. If you have to pressure your peers to do something, pressure them to do something right. If you can, pressure your peers to, don't use drugs and stuff like that. When you have a headache, you don't take, like, if the dose of Panadol, paracetamol that you should use for headache is 2, and you decide that 2 is not going to work for me any longer, and you just double the dose yourself. But that's abuse of drugs, and we should stop allowing self-medication like that. So we should just really work on it, as a nation, to help our youth to not abuse drugs any longer. Because the age released by NAFDAC is between 19 to 22. And people that are between 19 to 22, if they start out using drugs, definitely those same people are going to be 25, 30. That means that if there's a 19 to 22 100 people that are chronic abusers of drugs and addicted to it, by the time they're 25, 30, that means they've raised another, that's like a whole generation on its own, and then they'll raise children that are also involved in this practice. So we should really work on it. Okay. JAMB has also said that students can check their results on their phones, and they should not allow CBT centers or cyber cafes to scam them into believing that you can only check your results at the cafe. Like, you can actually check your results online. They actually said that you should not allow any computer-based test center to exploit them. That the examination results, however, have not been uploaded yet. They're still ongoing screening for malpractice and will be released by next week. A bit of CBT centers had technical issues and faulty computers nationwide. Okay, there was also a conversation, relating to JAMB that was on social media. There was a JAMB examiner came to social media to say that out of about 100 people that wrote JAMB in a center, that only 10, I'm just giving the numbers, that about just 10 could operate the computer properly. And these people have passed through secondary school. I mean, what? It's something that should be actually taken seriously. And if schools, a lot of schools do not even have enough computers to actually go around their students as they teach computer and stuff with with chalk on the board and stuff like that, and they do not have so we want the government to actually look into the ICT part, because the world has gotten to a point where everybody actually needs to be computer literate. That's where we've gotten to. Technology has so taken over that it's like being left in 1,000 generations ago if you cannot handle the computer properly as at now. And then the secondary school leavers that want to go into the university. So something should actually be done about the level of computer literacy that we have in the country, because it's not enough to actually know stuff in your head. You have to be able to put it out there. You have to be able to prepare slides for communication with people. So that actually really has to be looked in. And private schools too, that are going to be bringing out a whole new generation of leaders should actually look into the ICT team and take it very seriously. Even if it's going to be like 3 students to a computer, maybe a roster should be drawn so that every student somehow has his or her own time, with the computer, and they're able to actually use it effectively. It's not enough to be able to answer computer questions on paper, Moving on. Now, operatives of the Imo State Police have apprehended 5 members who were involved in child trafficking. The baby was 6 hours old, and the child's mother apparently negotiated with the nurse that took the delivery, and they were going to sell the baby for 850,000 naira. And the Commission of Imo State Police described the incident as absurd and irritating. Like, there was 5 people were involved. They tried to sell the baby. The nurse that took the delivery, that breaks every ethical code, that was instilled into her. That breaks every code, everything that she learned in school. And the mother of the baby, I really don't understand the level of desperation, that you'd go to sell a baby. Like, there are adoption agencies, there are motherless baby homes, there are avenues where you can, if you have a child and you feel that you cannot take care of the child, there are agencies where, you can give the child, to the people that do that. That's why we have homes for children everywhere. But having, the baby, it's just a baby. It's very innocent and it's not responsible. The baby is not responsible for whatever complications parents' life might have suffered, and people should actually bear that in mind. If you're going to have a baby that you do not want or you cannot take care of, there are motherless babies, there are homes for babies, not even motherless now. There are homes for babies where you can actually drop them, and couples that want to adopt will adopt the babies. And the baby being 6 hours old, I think there's even a process where while you're giving birth, you can contact an agency. That's before you give birth. You can contact an agency that links you up with a parent that is ready to adopt. And when you have the baby, there's just a switch at the hospital where the parents, like the people that want the baby, actually get the baby from you. So there are actually legal ways of doing these things, but having to sell the baby is not okay. No matter what you want to explain it to be, it's not just okay. Also, Rino Omokre, the special aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, he joined the conversation on social media about this internet fraud activities, Yahoo. That's what we call it these days. There's been a conversation. The conversation has actually never ended because it's been ongoing since forever. Where Simi actually came out to talk about Yahoo boys. And she actually said that somebody replied to her and said that she should stop criticizing them, as it was actually Yahoo boys that were buying her music. And Simi came out to say that, stop buying my songs. She said that. And the conversation has gone for a very long time. And, we have some celebrities who have actually come out to say, leave Yahoo boys alone. That you should face criticizing the government. There are also people a lot of people have had reactions to it. But one thing that is very, 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 very common, and you can actually pick out in almost what everybody supporting the Yahoo, so to say, have said, is that you should fight the government who steal and stuff like that. You should focus on them and leave your boys who are trying to make a living alone. They have also said that the Africans were enslaved by the white people, and that Yahoo is a way of getting their money back. There have been so many explanations. There have been people, that have come out to say that there's a high level of unemployment and people are just trying to make ends meet the way that they can. But the question is, if every unemployed person takes to illegal activities, there'll actually be nobody even creating jobs any longer. Like, we blame the government for so many things, which, quite alright, they are responsible for. But we have to understand that there are so many things that you should stop blaming people for and take on yourself. So that the time that you actually use to start the Yahoo process, the time you actually use, you have to buy a phone and probably even a laptop. That's enough. That's enough capital to start a business or something. So there's actually no excuse to it. It's a matter of choice, and I feel that it's high time that people stop blaming the government. Anyway, Rino Omokri said that saying that it's poor mentality to actually think that before, since the white people came out to take resources and stuff like that, that we are taking it upon ourselves to get them back. He said it's actually poor mentality to think like that, as it was not only Nigeria that was colonized by the white guys, that other African countries were colonized also. But Nigeria has an alarming, rate of internet fraudsters, and it's becoming more and more rampant, because you actually see children, and these people are celebrated on social media, really. So that it's really something that should be looked into, really. And that it's actually wrong. There's no excuse, no matter how you want to paint it. There's no excuse whether the white people came to colonize Nigeria and then took our resources, or whether there's no job. There's actually no excuse, because you have to get a phone. That's one thing. You have to get a phone. You also have to have data on the phone. That's enough money to actually start a business. So that's my 2 cents on that. Now moving on to sports. Juventus won an 8th consecutive Serie A crown with a 2-1 victory against Fiorentina. That makes Ronaldo the first player to win each of the Champions League. I think he has won with his club in every Champions League that he has. And he has actually gone around the world, I think, more than any other person that's involved, any other footballer, so to say. Like, he has played for all the leagues. And rounding up, the rector of Ogun State Polytechnic was suspended by the governing council board because of the rector and some of the admin staff have been accused of malpractices and so many things that should not be found in a higher institution. And the board took to the advice of people, and they suspended the rector along with some of his admin members. Now, although the rector has been reached to ask about the event where he suspended, he said no, that he's on leave. So that does not add up anyway. So that's it basically for now. Have a very, very happy Easter celebration. This is ONIF TV. My name is Lanka. Please.